a cadre of fixers in the world of college basketball conducted covert black ops to funnel tens of thousands of dollars in secret cash payments to the families of top prospects like DeAndre Ayton to lure them to major NCAA programs, a former Adidas consultant testified Wednesday at a corruption trial. Asked whose families he brokered deals with, Thomas T.J. Gisnola ticked off a list of 5 names, including Ayton, who attended Arizona for his freshman season before being drafted first overall by the Phoenix Suns. Gisnola also mentioned Brian Bowen too, who committed to Louisville before departing without playing amid the widening recruitment scandal. Gisnola also named Billy Preston and Silvio De Souza of Kansas and Dennis Smith Jr. of North Carolina State as the others. The government cooperator, who's also a former amateur basketball league director, said that he and other fixers referred to the deal-making as black ops. Asked what he meant, he responded, "It's dark. Underground. You don't want anyone to know about it." On trial are aspiring sports agent Christian Dawkins, former amateur coach Merle Cote and former Adidas executive James Gatto. All have pleaded not guilty to charges that they defrauded basketball programs that passed out scholarships by concealing how they directed funds from Adidas to prospects considering schools sponsored by the sportswear company. Share this article. Gisnola has pleaded guilty. He was expected to return to the witness stand Thursday in federal court in Manhattan. Earlier, the jury heard college administrators in charge of making sure Kansas and North Carolina State complied with NCAA rules say that they were unaware of payments that would have made some of their biggest players ineligible. "I didn't know anything about that," Jeff Smith of Kansas responded about an alleged scheme to channel $90,000 to Preston's mother. Carrie Doyle of North Carolina State had a similar response when asked if the school knew about a $40,000 payment made to Smith's father. She said there was some worry that former Wolfpack football player Eric Leak was involved in Smith's recruitment despite the fact that he was barred from campus for providing improper benefits to 2 other players. Smith spent 1 year at North Carolina State and now plays for the Dallas Mavericks. Preston left Kansas without playing a game and is under contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers in a developmental league, and De Souza is still on the roster at Kansas. Bowen, whose father testified at the trial about taking money, is playing professionally in Australia. Brian Bowen Sr. claimed under oath that Dawkins told him he could get $50,000 to play at the University of Arizona, $150,000 to go to Oklahoma State or $80,000 to go to Creighton. He said there was interest from Oregon, but he didn't recall a cash offer. Prosecutors say Bowen's son ended up signing with Louisville after a deal was struck to pay the family $100,000. Bowen too has not been charged with any crime. Dawkins worked at former NBA agent Andy Miller's Asm Sports in New Jersey, which was raided in September of 2017 when the FBI and Department of Justice announced its investigation into college basketball recruiting. At the time, acting U.S. Attorney in Manhattan June H. Kim announced that the investigation, launched in 2015, focuses on the criminal influence of money on coaches and student athletes who participate in intercollegiate basketball governed by the NCAA. Kim referred to the underground economy as the dark underbelly of college athletics. Two separate schemes have been investigated, one in which recruits and their families allegedly received bribes in exchange for commitments to specific universities, and another in which player advisors were supposedly paid to persuade the athletes to sign with certain managers, agents, and financial advisors. The ensuing scandal ultimately led to the firing of Hall of Fame coach Rick Pitino, although he has not been charged with any crime. Pitino has continued to deny any involvement in the scheme to pay players. However, according to an indictment that was unsealed in November, Pitino allegedly did have knowledge and directed payments to potential recruits, according to an indictment that was recently unsealed in the FBI's ongoing probe into corruption in college basketball. In 2019, another trial is expected to start involving 4 assistant basketball coaches, including former NBA star and Auburn assistant Chuck Person, who is accused of soliciting bribes and honest services fraud. According to federal prosecutors, Gatto and Code colluded with Dawkins, the 26-year-old former sports agency rep, financial advisor Munish Sood and Brad Augustine, who ran an AAU program that was sponsored by Adidas. The hope, according to the complaint, was that the 5-star recruit would attend Louisville, hire Sood, and ultimately agree to an endorsement deal with Adidas when he turned professional. Gatto and Code are specifically accused of conspiring to influence players to sign with schools that are sponsored by Adidas, such as Louisville, the University of Miami, NC State, and Kansas. According to Bowen Sr., then Arizona assistant coach Joe Pasternak offered Bowen $250,000, while Texas assistant Mike Morrell offered to help the Bowens with housing. Creighton assistant Preston Murphy allegedly offered Bowen Sr. $100,000 in a good job, lucrative job, and Oklahoma State assistant coach Lamont Evans offered $150,000 in cash, another $8,000 for help with a car, and even more money for housing. Pasternak has since taken the head coaching position at UC Santa Barbara, while Evans is one of the assistants who are charged in a separate case connected to the investigation. Murphy, another Saginaw native, is still at Creighton, while Morrell has taken the head job at UNC Asheville. In response to the federal investigation, the NCAA started its own committee on college basketball, headed by former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, and aimed at ending corruption in recruiting circles. The NCAA has since announced several major rule changes, the most significant of which allows college players to have a relationship with agents. However, only players identified as an elite prospect by USA Basketball beginning July 1 before their senior year would be eligible to do so. NCAA President Mark Emmert has steadfastly refused to consider allowing players to be compensated, either by the schools or by sponsors. In March, the NCAA reported that its 2017 revenue exceeded $1 billion.